Hello everyone! This is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
And joining us as our guest this week is the other half of 40k Theories, Mama Homebrew herself, Naerina.
Hello.
So firstly, how is everyone doing aside from melting in this unexpected heat wave? Thank you very much, Spanish plume.
What do you mean by heat wave? Go ahead, sorry, Dave.
Well, I was just going to say, shouldn't it be me doing the intro considering it was my episode last time because someone's Wi-Fi died?
Yeah.
Hey, don't blame me for my technical issues. Blame my internet service provider.
I think you're on the same Wi-Fi provider that I am.
Yes, but we're in different parts of the country, so we got different lines, technically.
I'll blame your location, Rem.
Blame my location, daytime TV, callback references, that's still a thing. I have no fucking idea.
I think it is
but
still a thing.
Anyway. Really? Oh, bloody hell.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah. Speaking of still a thing, the other day it was the 20th anniversary of Badger.
Yeah, it was. Did you see the new version of it?
Don't you feel old now? Yes.
Yep, a wee bit old, yeah.
We be old. So, in the news this week, speaking of old, it is the annual Reader's Choice Awards again, where you got to choose from a bunch of old books to be republished once more in physical form. And let's be honest, everyone should go and vote for Lord of the Night.
Yeah, I noticed you posting about that.
Hey, it was endorsed by Simon Spurrier himself, so can't go wrong.
Yeah, true, very true.
Yeah, actually, looking at it, I think the poll may have already closed.
Oh, shame.
Oh, bollocks.
I hope everyone did vote for that.
I mean,
What books other than that was available?
So, Lord of the Night, Faith and Fire, which, if you want that, just go buy 4 episodes of White Dwarf. Gunheads.
Or buy the ebook.
Or that. Gunheads, which is about the Battle of Golgotha. Scourge the Heretic by Sandy Mitchell. And Crossfire by Matthew Farrer. 2 of those I have never heard of before.
Me neither.
And if you want a physical copy of Crossfire, just get the version from the 40k Legends collection. Because that's on hardback. The entire trilogy is.
And nothing to do with genes or anything when it comes to, all kinds
No,
of
it's that
colouring.
little board game with the marbles, Crossfire!
Right, heard
Header.
Now, if you wanted something more fantastical, Dan Abnett's Riders of the Dead, Graham McNeil's Held and Hammer, Nick Kimes' The Great Betrayal War of Vengeance novel, the Tyrion and Teclis Bill King novel Blood of Anarion, or the End Times tie-in novel Curse of Cain were available. Check back to last episode to watch mine and Fresh's unholy rant about the End Times if you wish.
It was a very good rant, by the way.
It was a very good rant. I enjoyed that rant immensely.
And speaking of the episode with Fresh, we called it, didn't we, in regards to Space Marine 2 having Chaos Space Marines, didn't we?
Yeah, there was an extended
Yeah.
gameplay trailer like a couple of days later, and there's Thousand Suns at the end of it, and it's just like, really?
And
Surprise,
Nemrod was
surprise.
his ancient sorcerer, so Nemrod's going to be the villain again, I call it.
Oh,
I'm calling it
God.
now. I mean, he did ascend to demonhood at the end of the game, so...
Him
He
not
can be
being
a
dead
good
is completely expectable, but
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
We completely bloody called it, didn't we?
Very proud of you, dearies.
I'm pretty sure there's something else we actually called as well. Fulgrim ascended.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
so
I saw that.
Now we're going to actually do the news, and we're going to talk about Nova. So we knew at the time of recording the last episode that the Nova Open was coming up. It happened on August the 31st, so pretty much as soon as the last episode came out. Now, a lot happened. We're not going to go in any particular order. Since we mentioned it, we'll go Heresy first, but there is a lot to discuss. Space Marines, more Space Marines, some fantasy, underworlds, a lot of stuff comes up. But the best place to start, as we have been mentioned, is Fulgrim technically transfigured, not Fulgrim ascended.
Tomato.
I know it's tomato, but just worth mentioning it's got a slightly different name.
Yeah, Rem, listen to
That's
the teacher.
Yes, I'm stuck between an English teacher and a physics teacher.
Indeed. Suffer, darling.
Yes. Right. This is a really fucking cool model.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And it's worth pointing out, it's resin. Not plastic. Resin.
That's a bad thing.
Yes. Especially with those wings.
Those wings, that's a horrible decision.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, why? Is it cheaper to make it like that, or?
No, it gives you more precise sculpting.
All right.
And you also remember they said a bunch of the Horus Heresy Legion exclusive stuff was still going to be resin as well. And this is technically Horus Heresy, not 40k. You could probably use them in 40k down the line, I imagine.
Yes,
once
I
they
should think
eventually
so.
release rules for him. I'm sure they'll release a rule, like a data sheet for him in White Dwarf down the line at some point, I can imagine. But because this is strictly a Horus Heresy model at the moment, it is going to be a resin model. So it's also going to be quite expensive, I imagine, as well.
It's Warhammer. Everything is quite expensive.
Yes, but the Forge World resin models are ridiculously expensive when compared to the plastic ones. Compare when they had the resin Bane blade to the plastic one.
I'm just looking at the model, like, how are you going to bring that anyway if it's made, well, even if it was made out of plastic, but if it's made out of resin, you just, like, hold that in your hands while you're, sitting in the bus.
I imagine a lot of magnets.
Yeah.
Like, wings probably have to be magnetized, I imagine, just so you can take them off and put them in storage flat.
True.
But again,
It's also interesting. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
Sorry, I was just
saying.
Jesus.
Yes?
Go on.
I was saying, like, I don't have much experience in regards to using magnets on resin. I've seen a lot of people use magnets on metal models and on plastic models, but never on resin, to my knowledge. So, but I can imagine it can be done. It might be a little complicated, but it can be done, I imagine.
Yeah, I think so too. You were saying?
So that'd probably be the best bet in regards to those wings if you want storage, for, like, taking it like to tournaments or whatever.
Yeah, and what's really interesting to me is, obviously, remember back to when the first people started making Demon Fulgrim conversions. What was the model they used?
Marathi.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Now, what's interesting is how similar this model actually is in silhouette and design to Marathi. Because if you look at the fact that the tail coils around something down at the base, it's not in the exact same shape, but you've got a tail coiling with a pillar and a spike at the end of said tail, just like Marathi. It then curls up and leans to the left, just like Marathi. You've got a spear in the right hand. Granted, he's got two right hands in this case, but it is very similar. And I think the team that worked on this will have looked at Marathi as how to do a large serpent-like miniature and taken some serious notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, still coming back to those wings. If you want to balance that miniature, like, even without wings, it takes, some effort. But with those wings, of course, made out of resin, but still, they are quite heavy in comparison to some other things.
Well, at least it's got the massive...
Yeah.
At least it's got the massive footprint with the base, though. So.
No, that left wing is way too far out. What makes Marathi stand is that her right wing is straight, but she leans left, and her left wing curls. So she's actually relatively centered and center heavy. Whereas with this foreground miniature, yes, there's a large line of symmetry and mass down the base, but there's no balance on the right-hand side for that huge wing on the left. If you so much as tap that left wing with any sort of force that doesn't snap it, it will tip over. That left wing is going to be the biggest pain in the neck for forward players. And maybe the right wing too. I don't know how far out this back it protrudes, like backwards, but it doesn't seem to be too far.
I mean, given the amount of rubble on the base, it looks like there is going to be a fair amount of weight on the actual base itself, which could help, alleviate that to some degree.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Celestine, but it's
oh gosh, not that bad.
But it's still fragile, and both in resin and balance.
Oh, fragile like Fulgrim's ego. Oh wait, what? Sorry, couldn't resist. I'm in a roasting mood today. Goodness gracious.
And also, for anyone doubting that this is resin, it even says in the article, as only the second prime to receive a second model alongside Horus Ascended, the Phoenician is a new watermark for awe-inspiring resin miniatures.
Yeah.
So, there you go. That's in black and white for you.
But honestly, can we appreciate the detail in those wings?
Absolutely.
I think that's a spear that is in the close up, and it has a partial face in it.
Slanesh.
No, of course, yes, Slanesh, but still, like, the detail.
And he's got the sphincters coming out of his back as well.
True.
Do you reckon it's meant to be like the remains of his backpack or something just turned to flesh?
No, remember in Angel Exterminatus, Fulgrim doesn't ascend in the conventional way. He sheds his body like a snake sheds his skin.
Yeah.
No, literally, he's in the middle of the ascension process. Perturabo bashes him in the face with Forgebreaker, and his dead corpse just drops like a snakeskin, and Fulgrim just slips out of it in his demon form.
I mean, how awesome is that? But also, ew.
Yeah.
So what else is in the Nova reveals as well, then?
Let's hit the big one, which is the Space Marines. So we knew after the Battle for Ogden that the Tyranids got a huge pile of reveals. And we knew the Space Marines were going to get their turn because they had a pile of models if they had won the campaign. Therefore, it should be no surprise that there's a pile of Space Marine stuff. The pile of Space Marine stuff in question is a multi-part plastic Terminator kit, a Terminator Chaplain, Terminator Captain, Assault Marines, not Assault Intercessors, obviously, Jump Pack Intercessors. We'll get back to
Jump Assault Intercessors.
Yeah, let's just get through the list. Jump Pack Intercessors, Captain with Jump Pack as well, a multi-part Captain Kit, and a Heroes of the Company Heroes unit, which is your new variant of the Command Squad. So, Company Ancient, Company Champion, 2 Veterans, which is good to see. The Command Squad has been sort of tidied back up. Multi-part plastic Stern Guard kit, and a new Primaris-sized-ish Scouts kit.
That's a lot of kits.
Indeed. The Space Marines, we knew they were going to get loads because the Tyranids got loads. And now we know the sort of settings we're working with. They've finally put in Jump Pack Assault Marines. They've put back Scouts. They've put back Terminators. And they've put back Command Squads. Essentially, this is the addition, I think, where they're finally saying, you know what? We've given Primaris all these unique, cool new things. Now let's update the old range and Primarisize it.
Do you know what, though? I still don't like the Primaris jump. I hate the air brakes on the Primaris jump pack. I really don't like them. It just seems like a needless addition, personally.
I know what you mean. I think the thing that someone caught on, and I didn't clock this at the time, is the Jump Pack Intercessor. Apparently, the Sergeant is just the Assault Intercessor Sergeant stuck on a tactical rock. Like, it's literally the same model, apparently.
Really?
Oh, God.
Apparently. I cannot verify this, and I'll let the comments do it for me, but apparently there is one or something of the models in here that is just an intercessor, an assault intercessor, with a jump pack instead of a backpack stuck on a tactical rock. And it's worth noting they're all stood on tactical rocks and therefore are going to be incredibly flimsy, which is crap.
And it's still sturdier than the bloody Forge World Night Raptors.
I mean, yes, but everything's sturdier than those.
Yeah, that's true.
But design-wise, I'm not against the... I think the veins at the back of those air brakes are a bit pointless, but I think they've done a good job of updating Assault Marines. They look like Assault Marines. You could easily be told they're Assault Marines, and I've got nothing against them.
Yeah.
And the Captain, I'm hoping, it does seem to have loads of options. Hand Flamer option, Power Fist, Bolt Rifle, Chainsword. There'll be Power Sword options, Relic Blade. So yeah, a good number of options. And apparently, they give +1 strength to melee weapons on the charge, which is a really good buff to give to assault units and will help bring Assault Marines' assault potential into line, because they're probably not going to hit all that hard otherwise with chainswords.
Yeah, understandably so. I think it's a good way to go about it.
Yeah. And I think of all the models here, as much as they're probably the most basic, I'm glad to see Scouts back and redone properly, because when was the last time they did the Scouts kit?
I don't remember.
4th?
Driving, because, yeah, I think it was 4th. That was the plastic one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
With the sniper rifles. Might have been 5th, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. So yeah, these ones are... What they've not done, though, is put them back in their old config. What I mean by that is Scout Sniper Squads are not a thing. The new kit has a sniper option and a missile or heavy weapon option. And it's also got the grappling hook option, which is great to see. So it seems as though Scout Squads are going to be a bit more jack of all trades rather than dedicated, this is a bolter squad, this is a shotgun squad, this has a heavy weapon
Basically,
squad,
went back to
this is a
edition
sniper
rules,
squad.
essentially.
Oh, is it like third? Okay.
Yeah, and second. Because second, your default weapons were like a close combat weapon and a bolt pistol, but you could upgrade any member of your squad to have like, either sniper rifle or shotgun. One of them could be upgraded to take a heavy bolter, that kind of thing, or you can give the entire squad bikes. Yeah, that sort of thing.
That makes sense. So,
And speaking of Space Marines, Horus Heresy got some new stuff as well.
yeah, it's also worth noting that the Space Marine Codex has also been formally revealed. Just going to put that there. I forgot to mention that earlier, sorry.
That's
But-
fine.
Yes, Horus Heresy.
Yes, because we're getting the Mark III Tactical Marine box and the plastic Dorado Dreadnought.
I love Mark III. Maybe it's because I bought Burning a Prospero, but I love Mark III.
Yeah. Though I will be honest, some of these Mark III Marines look a bit Mark II-ish. So maybe it doubles as both, I don't know.
I don't remember the difference between Mark III and Mark II. I'm so sorry. I could be just here like, yes, absolutely.
It's mainly to do with the helm difference.
Oh, right.
Because some of them have like
yeah.
the night visor grill and some of them just like solid slab.
Yeah.
But as someone who painted a lot of Mark III, I think this kit does look really good in terms of it. It feels like the Mark III kit from Burning a Prospero, but with a bit more dynamism and hopefully a few more extra options as well. So not complaining.
No, of course not.
And the Dorado Dreadnought is just one of the biggest chunky blasters you'll ever see. So you've got autocannons, plasma cannons, and a rocket launcher as well. So it's a really chunky boy. There will also be an upcoming battle group that contains all these models, just in case you missed that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to interrupt, but someone pointed out something the other day, which I thought was quite interesting. And that's in regards to the... Oh, no, I don't want to save the image. Fuck off. So I tried to click copy image. Someone pointed out that the Dorado Dreadnought is pretty much supposed to be an updated take on the classic Space Crusade Dreadnought from like really, really early days of First Edition.
I had one of those.
That's adorable.
The Dorado is just basically a modernized version of that. With like the whole front prow and keel and everything.
Yeah. Cannot unsee.
So yeah, that was my little tangent.
No, that's absolutely fine. But no,
Yeah.
good stuff. You've got this, as I mentioned, this battle group box, which you've got 30 Mark IIIs, plus a Land Raider and Dreadnought, as well as a special weapon kit to allow you to take some special weapons squads as well.
Yeah.
Right,
A lot of things.
AOS, if you don't mind. AOS has...
Go for it.
Then.
So, there are two bits for AOS. The first is a new Troll King, Trug the Trogoth King, which is a really cool looking miniature.
Oh, yeah.
He's not the one who pissed on Sigvald, was he?
No, that's Throg, I think.
Right.
So Trug was basically very much having a nap. He was so asleep that they built an altar on his sleeping body's back without realizing, and then a goblin woke him up, a rabble-rouser goblin. They're the new guys from the Harbingers. The ones who've got the big... oh no, sorry, I'm telling a lie. I thought they were. They're not. They're the one... Oh no, it is. The one that's got a massive squig skeleton hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a rabble-rouser, and it woke him up. And now he's annoyed. No one knows what he's doing. He's just wandering around trying to get rid of a headache that he's got. And he's got a massive amount of trolls following him around, pretty much.
Well, I would have a headache too. Like if I had that sort of thing, like on my neck, basically, or on the back of my neck.
Can we appreciate the fact he's also wearing a fake beard?
He is?
Yeah, the
Oh
beard
god, he
fake.
is!
Dear, oh dear.
So I'm going to wear a chin strap beard.
Yes.
Because I can.
Because I want to be a wizard.
Oh god, like, who designed this model to have, like, yeah, we're going to have an ass crack over here.
I don't
He's got his
know.
magical conch shell for a club.
I don't know.
But, like,
But yes.
I love the design, like, not just, the pose and the details, but just looking at the head. I love that nose. It's just so trollish and so out there. I love it.
It is very extra, but in a very, like, you can believe it's like a sleeping giant that's been woken up and is now just covered in whatever and just wandering around. You can believe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's basically the AOS version of Mustakrakish.
Right.
So, shout out to all the Metalocalypse fans in the audience, by the way.
Not a clue. So yes, this is all tying into book 2 of the Dawnbringers series, Reign of the Brute. I didn't actually read the first one. I have no idea what's going on. But this puts this twin-tailed crusade of Hammerhal from Akshi and Gyron up against both King Brod, a great stomp, as well as the Iron Jaws, which we'll come on to in a moment, and Trug. So there's lots of destruction getting in the way of this twin-tailed crusade. There will also be an army of renown for the Caradron overlords in there. The Iron Jaws themselves actually got a huge pile of stuff to really pad them out, because the Iron Jaws have had bugger all in terms of units and stuff. Literally, if you look at their army, it's literally the Auric Brutes, the Gorgrunter cavalry, and the Maw Crusher boss, and then a couple of heroes. That's all Iron Jaws have ever really had, is just like 2 or 3 units and 3 or 4 heroes. It's ridiculous. So they're finally being bogged out, including a named character, Zogrok Anvil Smasher, and his pet Anvil Squig Clonk.
Clonk.
Clonk is perhaps the best name for an anvil squig. Also, that is adorable. That squig, I want one. I want an anvil squig now.
Yeah, so it's a really, really cool model. He's got this enchanted sword option that can be used to break through wards, or he can do weapon buffs as a smith with the Grunter Tongs option instead. So you always got the hammer, but you can either have a ward-busting chopper or a war-boosting set of tongs because he's being a smith and providing arcane boosts.
That is epic. And this is why we love orcs.
Indeed. And if you keep going, you run into the Brute Ragers. So these are the sorts of orcs that actually lost quite humiliatingly, and rather than saying, no, I didn't, I am the best, and they go way over the top. They get rid of their armor, get massive weapons, so that no one could ever accuse them of not being the hardest Auric around. So they're just...
So basically they're the orc version of Repentia.
Slayers, I think, is probably the one that comes more to mind.
Berserkers?
Half naked, massive two-handed weapons, running around smashing everything.
They are epic. Honestly, they just look gorgeous.
Yeah, I can see some real great paintwork being done on them. And they're actually an option kit, so there's 2 different variants of the kit. If you'd prefer, you can build the Weird Brute Wreckers, which are Aurics that are so entangled in war energy that they go proper wonky, and start vomiting green bile. So they get given iron and bone masks, turning them into maniacal killers. They see the world around them as a mass of green flame, and they must extinguish their enemies with swinging their chain smasher flails.
For some reason, that reminds me of a reverse version of, well, you guys know Team Fortress 2, right?
I do.
Yeah, that Meet the Pyro video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but just everything that they see is on fire, and they just try to, put it out. Unlike Meet the Pyro.
Dun, 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 dun.
But honestly, gorgeous, gorgeous work. Just, all around. Very good paintwork, very good posing, and those weapons actually look heavy.
They look like they could ruin someone's day.
Yeah.
And we're not done yet.
I was going to say, speaking of gorge, we've got the gorgers.
Oh, no, no, we're still on Iron Jaws. We haven't finished Iron Jaws yet.
Yeah, we'll get there, dearie. We'll get there.
It was the perfect segue, though.
It was a very good segue, sorry. So, yes, they've actually redone the Black Orcs.
They have?
So, Ard Boys have been a unit in Iron Jaws for ages. They were basically the old Black Orcs models from Fantasy carried over. They've finally redone them. They're not as big as the Auric Brutes, but they're a bit more numerous. And now they've got a couple of different options, sword and shield or spear and shield, which is good. So you've got some proper line infantry now, rather than your really big bulky brutes. You've got proper line infantry now for your Iron Jaws army, all given in a Battle Tome supplement. Because remember, they also got an Iron Jaws boss, the Ard Boy Big Boss the other day, and they got that Mega Grunter thingy. I've forgotten what its actual name is now. The massive unit that got revealed a few weeks ago. I've forgotten its name and it's bothering me. But yes, you know what I mean? The ginormous pig with the orcs riding its shotgun.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Don't remember his name either, but I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Steve the Absolute Unit.
Yes, Steve the Absolute Unit. Now, it is the canon name now.
Yep, it's now canon.
Indeed.
It's now canon.
Right.
I
now
don't know
you can
why.
do your segue, Ram.
But sorry, not yet, because I have a thing to say, sorry. But I don't know why the look of these Ard Boys, some of them, I do not know why, remind me of, kind of cartoon villains, like from, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Biker Mice from Mars. And I'm loving it.
That's a deep cut.
But still, because that's my childhood. And of course I love the villains. And I'm here just looking at these okay, I could picture my cartoon heroes fighting against this and losing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But yeah, your segue.
Yes. Ogre Gorges are back.
Indeed. Woohoo. And they're in Warcry.
Mm-hmm.
Along with a piece of scenery that's basically the Vor Pit.
Nice.
So yes, this is a Gorger Moor pack. Pariahs to even the Ogres, because they can never ever be full. So, they walk around, they've got some really big models, and they're going to be paired up against the Wilder Core Hunters. You remember the Archer unit that they did for the Cities of Sigmar a few weeks ago?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something, this unit is very similar. This lot mostly a crossbow unit rather than archers, but it's the same core idea to go alongside these sort of monster hunter type units, trackers.
And they're good boys.
Indeed.
Monster Hunter, yay.
But yes, the Gorgers look really impressive, particularly the leader looks extremely good.
It was 2 hammers.
Yeah. And then the Moor Pit, to give its actual name. So
I wasn't far off,
yes.
to be honest.
So it says it must constantly eat or else return to stone and dirt, and so consumes anything that ventures near them. It's a really cool piece of terrain.
It is.
It's basically a Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
Yep. With bones.
With bones.
And chains.
And bones.
And more bones. We are so boned indeed. But yet
Hey.
again, the paint job, the detail. Honestly, I would be very intrigued to see, in how many pieces does that thing come?
Several, I should think. Several.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. I'm guessing 5.
Only 5.
I think you're underestimating quite severely there, if I were to guess.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm thinking 10, at least.
Now I'm guessing 5.
Well, someone in the audience go and buy that and tell us.
When it comes out, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
In before Rem was right, and we're like, how?
Oh, just guesswork, obviously.
No,
Yes.
darling dear, you just never admitted. You're like, yeah, of course, I knew it.
Now, from Gorgers to the Death Gorge, as Underworlds gets 2 new warbands as well.
Very good segue as well.
I'm happy with that segue.
As it
So,
should be.
What we've got is a new place to go, a sub-zero setting for the next season of Underworld, called the Death Gorge, because the Everwinter has kind of screwed things up. Now, the first warbands in it are a Ideneth and a Slaanesh warband. Now, both of these already have warbands, which is Elathane's Soul Raid and the... I've forgotten their name. I can literally see there was the ones that had the first Slangor in it. I've forgotten their name.
Steve.
I've forgotten their name.
He can't always be Steve, dearie.
No, 'cause I said Dave last time. This is Steve now.
Oh, right.
But anyway, so there are already warbands, but they're now getting a second one each. The Slaaneshi one is going in a really janky direction. Like, you've got this very large, bulbous warrior demon kind of thing, as well as a serpent demon with 2 tails, and a 4-armed sort of hack and slash kind of demon, which is a really interesting direction to take them. The Thricefold Discord.
Yeah, it's like honestly looking at the Ideneth that might have fallen to Slaanesh and just like how they ran with that.
Yeah, so apparently they all hate each other, and they were squabbling so much it got on everyone's nerves. So Celeste said, you must get 666 souls from the Death Gorge as your penance.
Oh, God.
For being too argumentative with one another.
Wonderfully petty.
Meanwhile, against them is Cyrene's Razors. So, we've got a Tidecaster, a sort of Namati with a little soul lantern and a spear, proper Lanmari blade, a second Ideneth thrower with Lanmari blade, and a Put-em-up-topus. I'm not calling it a Shanktopus because it doesn't have a knife, but it's one of the Octar.
The Punchtopus.
That's a good one. So it's a Spirit Guardian, apparently. And so it's going to be used for punching things in the face with an octopus.
Punchopus, yeah. I love the design. Like, I don't know how they do it. They make the octopuses? I don't know. Anyway, they make them one of the liveliest characters, or one of the liveliest models with the Ideneth. Like, okay, well, come at me, you rascal, I'm going to punch your lights out or something like that. And the other ones, they're like, yeah, I'm going to shank you.
About right.
To answer your question, the plural of octopus is octopuses, not octopi.
Why?
Oh,
It's because something to do with like either Latin or Greek origin or something to that effect.
I'm Googling
recall.
it,
But if you look at it, like, what is the plural of octopus? It is actually octopuses.
All right. Good to know.
Today I learned. Right, almost there now. We've got some a vampire team for Blood Bowl, the Drakfang Thirsters, which is very vampiric, as you might expect. Very old school vampire, Dracula vibes with the outfits and things like that.
Yeah, I love how one of them is literally just like Dracula from the Castlevania anime.
I love it.
Hair.
Oh, I just love it.
What's that saying the kids do these days? Like, he's got the drip or something.
Riz, darling.
It's Riz, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I think these days, yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. But I really like the Nosferatu-looking guy.
Oh, yeah. Just like, as a person who's a fan of Vampire the Masquerade, I'm just looking at these and I should not be thinking...
You went Gangrel.
Yeah, I should not be thinking of which clan is which. And I'm here like, okay, that one's that. All right, excellent. I've categorized them. Wonderful. But they all have like distinct personalities. Like, I'm pretty sure that the Nosferatu one is just gonna go there, like, rip things apart. Meanwhile, our Dracula, our quote-unquote Ventru or Toreador, is there like, well, then if I must, then I should do something, I presume.
Indeed.
And finally, the lady for Britannia. Sort of.
Britannia lady.
What do you mean, sort of?
So, it's a prophetess, Lady Elise Duchard, a prophetess of the Lady of the Lake, one of the handmaidens, I suppose. It's not the Lady of the Lake, obviously, but it's one of the, prophetesses.
Because when you said the lady, I immediately was like, wait, that's not Morgana Le Fay.
So yes, it traces back obviously to the Grail. They've had several models like this before of like women of Britannia riding a Pegasus, holding a Grail. This is nothing new. So you've got lots of really cool bits. It's also resin, worth noting. I think we knew this already, but Old World is going to be resin for some of this stuff. And it's not a Pegasus, it's a unicorn. I am a moron. So yes, we have a unicorn mounted lady who serves the Lady of the Lake, carrying a Grail and doing magic.
Well, sounds fantastical enough indeed.
Absolutely.
I do like how the unicorn sculpt now actually looks like an actual unicorn rather than just some weird attempt at one. Because like if you look at the original ones, the one from the 2000s was a bit derpy looking, and the one from the 90s was too extreme looking.
Yeah, that's kind of mohawk pony.
With a beard. Like the 90s unicorn had a fucking beard.
Yep.
And a scowl, because it was extreme, because it was the 90s, and everything was extreme back then.
Very true.
Well, where's that image of the Gene Stealer cultist with the 100% radical meme?
What? There's one of those as well?
Yeah. Because one of the Gene Stealer cultist models has like a pair of like Brett the Hitman Hart sunglasses.
Mm?
Oh, I found it.
Oh god, that is glorious. I may just have to steal that one.
You have to admit, they do look exactly like Brett the Hitman Hart sunglasses.
Yep, they do. Absolutely. I may have to steal that one, honestly.
Radical
Indeed. But I think it's very good that we have, like, not just, of course, from the point of view of 40k, of, if we have, all kinds of female figurines there, like, well, we have Sisters of Battle, and then we have some Zenus or something else. But it's good to see that even though this is a very ladylike lady that we have over here, that we actually have some, female representation in some other form than just like, well, we have this female unit over here.
I mean, true.
Is my internet cut out again?
I'm just no, it hasn't. I'm just looking at this even more radical Gene Stealer that you've posted, and I'm scared of it.
He's extreme.
He is.
Dear.
He will haunt me in my dreams.
He's ready to boost up the PlayStation. Play a bit of Wipeout.
God.
Oh God.
Don't you feel old now? Who else remembers Wipeout, the original Wipeout on the PlayStation?
Nope, you're too old for that. Or we're too young for that.
That was a fucking classic.
Like, you have to understand, I didn't become a gamer unless we count, me playing like The Sims or something like that until I was 20-something, I think 21 or something.
Fun fact, Wipeout was one of the very first games to actually have a soundtrack album released, like, commercially.
Really?
Yeah. Because, like, most of the soundtracks were, like, actual big-name club artists from at the time. I think, like, you had, like, Chemical Brothers on there and stuff like that as well. In the soundtrack, so...
Neat.
I'm sure someone in the comments going to go, but it did that in Japan for years before that. I'm talking over here. Shut up.
Yeah, we're on the wrong side of the planet, unfortunately, when it comes to Japan and releasing anything.
We're in Europe. We traditionally always got shafted when it came to video games. We always got shafted. America and Japan always got the good shit. We got shafted.
Yeah, and usually when it comes to movies, it takes a long time for at least the Finns to get any new movies from America to. Well, I'm not sure if it takes that much time, but from my childhood, I remember like people talking about films. I'm like, it's not here yet.
That does happen a lot.
Yeah.
Thank God we live in the digital age, eh?
Indeed.
But anyway, moving on.
Yep. I think for Nova, we've actually covered it. Unless you want to talk more about the Terminators or the company's command squad or whatever for the Space Marines, we've actually covered it all.
I was going to say, not particularly.
That is fair.
Just because there is a lot to go through, so we still need to get through the rest of this stuff.
We do. There was a quick talk about the elves and dwarves in Cities of Sigmar, but I can leave that. There were some Vampire Star players to accompany the new team, which includes a Varg heist, which is a bit of a different...
I think we already talked about them. We were talking about the Nosferatu-looking guy.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were still talking about the team. I didn't realise you'd moved on to star players.
Yeah, we were like, oh my god, they're vampires. Sorry.
Sorry, my fault.
It was all a masquerade.
Indeed.
Oh, Dawn of Fire.
Dawn of Fire. Yeah,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Dawn of Fire has changed in that it's actually,
Coming to an end.
Yeah, it's actually stopping, which we weren't expecting this soon. I was expecting Dawn of Fire to be like 20 books or something, or just to be a long-running series a la Horus Heresy. It's not. It's actually only going to be 9 books long. They aren't even going to around 10. But they've revealed the 7th book here, called Sea of Souls, which is following Fleet Secundus, which is the one heading straight for the Eye of Terror. It talks about scheming and chaos and all of these little bits. It's one of them where I think it will be quite interesting. It's a Chris Wright novel, which is always a good thing because Chris Wright's a very good author. Mm-hmm. But it will be interesting to see what it does. Does it link in, or is it just going to be a bit standalone? Because now that we're getting to the fact that there's only going to be 2 more after this one, is it going to be able to tell a full standalone story, close itself off, because Fleet Secundus has not even been touched yet? Or is this just going to be the battle that Fleet Secundus gets in the Dawn of Fire series because, well, they haven't got room to talk about it anymore? I just find it odd that they're ending so early at only 9 novels. And I know 9 novels is nothing to sniff at. It's a lot of books. But at the same time, if this is the flagship novel series of New 40k, to end it after 9 books is a little odd.
Yeah, I mean, how many books were in the Beast Arises? Oh, God, yeah, Beast Arises got more books than this. Beast Arises got 12. Beast Arises got 12.
Ooh.
Jesus.
I hope they're not just going to rush it, like, we're just going to put out something new after this, and you'll just have to rush it. So it doesn't get the Game of Thrones treatment.
Yeah. And considering that Beast Arises, like, there was literally only one thing they really had to do, and that was the whole situation about the beheading, which had an entire book dedicated to it. You could have just done that as a standalone novel and be done with that, but they did like an entire 11-book series leading up to it, of all bloody things.
Yep.
Also, in regards to the cover art, one, I've seen a lot of people making references to Eddie Murphy regarding the Rogue Trader Captain or Naval Captain, and yet not one reference to Pluto Nash. I'm very disappointed in you all, let's be bloody honest. And secondly, what chapter is that Space Marine? Because it looks like the 2nd edition colour scheme for Black Templars, well, the black shoulder pads and the blue trim with the blue bolter. I know it's probably not Black Templar because like the shoulder pads are the wrong colour, but then again, Black Templars have been in pretty much every other Dawn of Fire book, so I wouldn't be bloody surprised.
I think it must be a Black Templar.
I've seen some people say it's Raven Guard, but
with blue?
I don't think so. Well, the blue shoulder trim is just company colour. But
yeah, true.
I don't think it's Raven Guard because, like, if you're going to depict a Raven Guard in art, just for like a single Marine, you're always going to give it a Corvus helmet, maybe some Raven feather totems and that kind of thing. But there's like nothing like that here. So, what the hell are you?
We'll read the book and find out.
Could it be like an Iron Hand, maybe?
I don't know. I really don't know.
It's a very good question, honestly.
I've seen someone say maybe it's a Dark Kraken, but I'm pretty sure they had purple rather than blue. I'm not sure. Anyway, it'll probably be a Black Templar because every other book in the series has been a fucking Black Templar.
No, I'm honestly hoping it's going to be a Raven Guard. Yeah. I'm just honestly hoping for it to be a Raven Guard because just like, it would be a surprise.
Or someone new and just some rare and obscure chapter, maybe.
Something new, perhaps.
Who knows?
Maybe. I'm just gonna have a quick look through Space Marine chapters, like a pictorial list, and see what ones have black armor as a possible candidate. Maybe an Angel of Vengeance, because they have black armor.
Who's their Primarch?
Lionel Johnson.
Ah, figures.
Could be a Black Consul.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a Black Dragon, but I'm going to find that unlikely, personally, just because Black Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah, most likely not.
Maybe a Consecrator? Not sure about that one. It's not a Death Spectre because they have white helmets. It's not Emperor's Wolves, they have red shoulder pads. Who else could it be? It's not Hammer of Dawn because they have orange faceplates. So it could be... Actually, no, it won't be an Iron Hand because they don't have the traditional company symbols. They have the clan symbols, don't they? So it's not an Iron Hand.
Could. I honestly don't remember that much about Iron Hands.
No, they are pretty boring.
Ooh, shots fired.
Am I wrong?
You're not, darling, you're not.
So now, it's going to be interesting anyway. Whoever they end up being, and we could be here all day, but it's going to be interesting because, like, now they've got a time limit to wrap it all up and tie it all together. Because I think what's also quite interesting is, remember what Dawn of Fire is? It's the first sort of forays and attacks and the first phase of the Indomitus Crusade. The Indomitus Crusade is over at this point because they ran...
I mean, technically it was over last edition, in 8th edition, wasn't it? Technically.
Sort of. But, like, what I mean by that is, like, now at this point, the Tyranids have rocked up. The Imperium has got nothing to worry about conquest anymore. It's got to stop itself being munched. The Necrons were...
The Plague Wars were over, yeah.
The Necrons were a threat in 9th, but they weren't like a galaxy-wide threat in the same way that the Tyranids are. At this point, the Adeptus Crusade is over. So I understand why they're wrapping it up, but why only 9 books? That's the thing that really gets me. Why only 9 books?
Here's my cynical answer. Poor sales. That's my cynical answer.
Could be, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, could be.
Because remember what happened with the Inari trilogy, and they cancelled it at the 3rd book because the 2nd book didn't sell that well, so...
Stranger things have happened.
So, my cynical answer is because they're cancelling it early, it's like, right, wrap up quickly because no one's fucking buying it.
That's a shame. That's really a shame.
Just a shame.
I mean, let's be honest, the 1st book didn't give a really good impression because it was such a bloated, convoluted mess. The 1st book did not leave a good impression.
I enjoyed it, but it was you had to really follow along and almost take notes to keep tabs of everything.
It had way too much going. Like, you could have gotten rid of at least 1 or 2 of the B plots, and it would have been a much more streamlined read. Like, the whole plot line with the Archivist, it was a good plot line, don't get me wrong, but that plot line should have been its own, like, novella or something. Like, there was a whole thing, like, you know, the whole Chekhov's Gone thing, like, here's the thing that we're setting up in Chapter 2 that we're not going to touch until Chapter 26.
Yeah,
that's
a bit... It's like, oh, at Chapter 26, oh, I haven't followed that thing I wrote right at the beginning, fuck. You know, because, like, for the 1st book of a series, it doesn't need to be a masterpiece, but it needs to be good enough to make someone go, alright, I want to see what happens next. And with Dawn of Fire 1... it didn't leave a good impression purely because it was such a bloated and convoluted mess. It was such a mess that it didn't leave a good impression. I can imagine that it sold the taste of a lot of people. So,
yeah, I remember when we talked about it, and I was always the one who read Dawn of Fire first and foremost. I remember reading it and being like, I'm really glad I read this quickly, like really quickly, because if I read it over the span of a couple of weeks, I'd have forgotten so much of the stuff required to set this up. Because if you read just like a couple of chapters a day, you wouldn't touch some plot lines for days at a time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then I read through it, I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, but then they followed it up. Gate of Bones was really good.
I'll be honest, I've not touched the series.
Yeah,
after that 1st book.
And perhaps and maybe that's what you're getting at with sales. I kept going. I read Gate of Bones. It was really good. And Wolf Time, as someone who hates Space Wolves, Wolf Time was good. It was good. And then
I appreciated the fact that you pointed out all that stuff regarding not only the Lost Legions in that book, but also in other books talking about the what's it called, the Star Child. That's got my attention perked up.
The Star Child came up in Throne of Light.
Yeah, but I think some of these plot points that will be designed to hook people in, I think some of them are being introduced a little. It's like a little, like too little, too late kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. And also, the Star Child, 99% of people don't know or care what the Star Child is. Like that was a niche little throwaway epilogue for people like us, like the people who know all the geeky old shit.
Yeah, very true.
That's who that was for. It wasn't really going to be a hook for most people, so I understand maybe why it wasn't front-loaded. I think with me, the challenge with Dawn of Fire has been it's trying to do Horus Heresy whilst having an overarching plot and thread, which is a noble goal and is always the goal they set out to have. That it would be each author could write their own stuff, it was really independent, but there was an oversight from Guy Haley and Nick Kime, which gave an overarching thread to things to follow through. And yet, the only way to follow along, if you want to follow Macinius, you have to wait for about 3 books before he turns up again. Nick Kime's characters in book 2, they're all about him in book 2. A few of them show up in book 3, and then they all die in book 5. And a commenter raised that they hated Iron Kingdom because it killed everyone from Gate of Bones. Literally everyone, pretty much.
Hey, remember
dies.
These characters you got invested in and want to learn more about? Guess what? Fuck them.
So it's one of them of like, if you ask me what's the overarching plot thread here, all I've got is there's the Star Child potentially kicking about now, and Abaddon seems to want the Athane. Those 2 plot threads were not introduced until book 4 and 5. I cannot remember what Gilliman hypothesized Abaddon's plan to be in book 1, but I'm 90% he was wrong. So I just worry that they didn't set it up in a good way. I think it would have been better, and I know this is going to probably sound a little daft, if each of the Dawn of Fire authors had themselves a little trilogy under the banner. So let's say Guy Haley has 3 books. He's got, hang on, I've forgotten what his book is. He's got the first one, Avenging Sun. No, that's the wrong tab. Where's my old tab gone?
Where is it gone? Where will it be?
There it is. So, yeah, of the books so far, Guy Haley wrote Avenging Sun and Throne of Light. Now, that means Guy Haley is taking charge of the Gilliman and the, essentially, the key plot line, because he introduces Star Child, he has Gilliman show up the most, Macinius is there, and it follows Fleet Primus. So, Guy Haley is writing Fleet Primus. Okay? Fine. Oh, actually, Andy Clark wrote Gate of Bones, not Nick Kime. Sorry, Andy Clark. I forgot to credit you properly there. And Nick Kime killed them all. So, fine. Whereas, you've got Gate of Bones and Iron Kingdom and the Wolf Time that all follow the same fleet or the same set of characters. That's a little mini trilogy. Martyr's Tomb is completely standalone, and then just has a random insert of Katia Helvinter because that's the character of Mark Collins. It's just thrust in.
It's like, yay, look at my OC.
It's completely disconnected from everything else that Dawn of Fire is doing, and it's just sort of a random snippet of an event that happened during the Indomitus Crusade. Because it's not the Indomitus Crusade. These are a set of worlds under attack from a Chaos counter fleet. And actually, the Indomitus Crusade barely shows up in any way, shape, or form. So, I think what would have been better served is if each author maybe had a trilogy, and the Dawn of Fire was like the Horus Heresy. It was a huge, spanning thing, and each author kind of took, right, you've got 3, you 2 are working on these ones, etc., and say, we're each going to make our own little trilogies that are almost tales from the Indomitus Crusade. Like a pathway of Fleet Primus, Fleet Secundus, Fleet Tertius, whatever, and just set each fleet as its own little trilogy within Dawn of Fire, so that you've still got the overarching ideas and you can link them together, and maybe you have the Gilliman thread, the Gilliman and Abaddon thread, running through maybe all of them, because that ties it together. You've got Guilliman showing up and doing cameos, Messinius doing cameos, Abaddon showing up and the Chaos Forces being tied together where relevant, have them sprinkled across, but have each set of books be about one fleet, one overarching story, because there is no story to follow. Or if there is, it's bloody hard to follow because it's all over the place, scattered across 9 different books with no cohesive plot arc.
Well said. No, it's not.
It is not a waste of time. I think what Dawn of Fire has done, it's produced some really good books set in the Indomitus era, such as Gate of Bones, Wolf Time, Throne of Light, and depending on your particular taste for killing all your favourite characters at once, Iron Kingdom. I enjoyed it, not everybody did. And Avenging Sun, much as it could have been structured a little better, was at its heart a decent novel with maybe one too many plot threads in there. Martyr's Tomb felt a bit pointless, if I'm completely honest. Not that it was a bad book, it was just a bit pointless. And it barely seemed to tie in with anything, except actually, wait, it probably does, and I just didn't clock it because one of the Hands of Abaddon literally fucking dies. But at the same time, he's the antagonist and barely shows up in the whole book, and he just dies at the end, so one of the Hands of Abaddon is dead. What does that mean? We don't know, because we don't get a little cutaway to Abaddon or the Justarian at the end. We're like, we lost one of the hand. Okay, what does that mean? What were they trying to do? Was this just one of their own little petty conquests? How does that affect Abaddon's plans to gather the Athame or whatever it is he's actually doing? We don't know, because it's not mentioned, because that coherency is just not there. What they could benefit with is either that trilogy structure of this follows this fleet, that follows this fleet, it's all under the banner, so you've got maybe 15 books, or at the very least have little excerpts of reports to Guilliman, communications to Abaddon, communications from Guilliman, or secret meetings taking place with the forces of chaos that just basically say, this is what this has done for the wider galaxy. This is what Guilliman is aware is going on. This is what Abaddon's lieutenants feel about the situation. This is how it will affect the great plan of the Indomitus Crusade, or Abaddon's plan, whatever it may be, involving the Athame or whatever. The Wolf Time is a great book, but it's completely standalone because it's just how the Space Wolves got Primaris. It does not need to be in this series. It's just a good book. So, I don't know. Good ideas, but I think the idea of create a series of standalone books with an overarching plot thread has failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer.
And you just put it so well, I have just nothing to add.
Yeah, sorry, I hate being all negative, but I've read all 6 of them. I enjoy most of them as books, but as a series, they just don't thread together pretty much.
Yeah. I think that is the problem with them. And I think that is also one of the reasons there's only going to be 9 of them. Because cohesion, it should be there, but if it's not, why make it too long?
It's as coherent as a series as the Space Marine Conquest series was. Do you remember that series? God, that's a callback, isn't it?
I remember Battles, not Conquest. Is that the one that had Devastation of Baal in it?
Mm.
Yeah. Conquest had like 4 or 5 books total, and they just dropped it and just never went back to it.
Oh, is that the one that's got the Apocalypse novel that had that stupid Dreadnought thing?
Yeah, the Loyalist Were-Bearer Dreadnought, yeah.
Oh god, yeah, that was it.
Oh, yeah.
Anchorite.
Yeah.
You had Devastation of Baal, you had Ashes of Prospero. That just says it already, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the book where Lucas the Trickster was literally Bugs fucking Bunny.
Did he, forgot to turn left from at Albuquerque? Or how does it even go? It's been ages since I've watched anything Bugs Bunny related.
Yeah. I should have turned left at Caliban.
Hey, what's up, Duck?
Yeah, God. It was not a good book, that one. And then you had one that was about Ultramarines, and then you had one that was about an Imperial Fist librarian, and then you had the Apocalypse novel. So yeah, it was about 5, I think. Yeah,
one can only imagine how tired I am, because when you said a librarian, I was just of course I know what a librarian is in 40k, but I was just, the first thing that came to mind was just an Astartes in an actual library, just organizing books and being like, shush now.
I mean, technically that is their role to an extent.
It is, but just like not in a 40k library, but at a local library. Not with the 40k aesthetic. It's just a regular library with an Astartes in it.
So if you want to use the computers, that's £5 for 10 minutes.
Indeed.
Or something stupid like that.
I still maintain, though, that the best series of disconnected novels GW ever did was Space Marine battles. Like Battle for the Fang, Wrath of Iron, Hell's Reach, Architects of Fate, Gildar Rift.
Yeah.
Like, there are more in there, I know, but they're the fact that they were like some of the first books I ever read, and I can still name them off the top of my head.
Hell's Reach.
I said that one.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yeah.
Didn't hear so.
Hell's Reach, Wrath of Iron, Gildar Rift, Architect of Fate, and Death of Antagonist was in there too, and Damnos, and Home for Valdorius.
Yeah, but Damnos was crap. Damnos was crap, though. I'm sorry.
Okay, fair enough. But Home for Valdorius was in there. That was good. Death of Antagonist in there. That was hilarious.
Sons of Wrath and Flesh of Cretaceous.
Flesh of Cretaceous. Yeah, that's another banger.
Mm-hmm. And it directly follows on from Sons of Wrath as well. So they actually got a rare instance of 2 books in that series connected to one another. I know you got one as well with like what was it? Hell's Reach, and that one with the Celestial Lions getting orc snipered.
Yeah. Oh, and Legion of the Damned. The Legion of the Damned novel was in there.
Oh, yeah.
Despite the fact it was called Legion of the Damned, it was actually about the excoriators.
I know, but that series just turned out banger after banger after banger after Damnos after banger after banger. That series is the gold standard, and I'm not saying you have to try and do something like that again. That's fine. You want to cover the wider range of the Crusade with Sisters and Custodes and Guard, etc. That's absolutely fine.
I think Conquest was their attempt at redoing battles, but we're like, oh, here's the Primaris version of battles. It's now Conquests. And we gave up after 5 books. Fuck it.
Yeah, it just did not stick the landing at all. Yeah. I don't know. It's just like...
Just like Dawn of Fire. Way!
Yeah, and as much as this has been a bit of a bashing of some of Black Library's output, I don't want this to say these are bad books. They are not bad books. They are good books. But it's not a well-connected... Yes, I'm talking about Dawn of Fire again, sorry.
Right, sorry.
Dawn of Fire's books are good. Stand alone, once you get your head around how Avenging Sun is written, they are good. However, as a cohesive, coherent thread of the tale of the Indomitus Crusade, considering they're going to try and do it in 9, it has so many things that it has either set up so they can't pay off, or just contained a self-contained story that needs no further payoff. So how are they going to wrap it all together? I don't know.
In a hurry.
In a hurry, indeed, but I don't think they can do it that quick.
Yeah. A shame.
A damn
A shame indeed.
Oh, speaking of books, have you been reading anything?
Yeah, I didn't talk about it last episode. I read the Children of Teclis, Idoneth and Lumineth novel.
Book Nook. Tell us, please.
Yeah, I talked about the Go Trek book because I thought that was more relatable and didn't require quite as much a lore dive. So I read Children of Teclis. I'm in the middle of God Eater's Son. Mm-hmm. You know, the not Chaos Stormcast thing. So that's probably what next episode will be all about. Just checking, is there anything else I've actually read? No, there isn't. So, Children of Teclis is all about the Lumineth trying to kill the Ossiarch, running into the Idoneth, fucking around, finding out, and then the Idoneth fucking around and finding out.
Yeah, sounds like Idoneth.
So, long story short, the Lumineth, this is set after the defeat of Nagash. So remember how in AOS 2, Nagash fought Teclis at the top of a mountain and they shot him with Luminarchs until Teclis could kill him?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So this is after that. Nagash is weakened and the forces of death are kind of broken at the moment. The Lumineth have secured Hysh and are pushing into the realm of death. They've set up fortresses, scholarly towers, etc. to monitor Shyish for signs of Nagash. Because they know he isn't dead, but he's dead for now. The book follows a lore seeker. They're the ones who have the staff and the sword. You might remember those models that have a staff and a sword and a helmet. They've got quite a janky pose. And it follows a lore seeker after her tower is wiped out by the Ossiarch. And we find out later it was just left to die by the Lord Regent. So, she is out while the tower is destroyed. She's away on an expedition with her Blade Lord entourage of one Blade Lord. And they're off doing exploring, and they have a vision. And they see this place. It's called Marrowscar. Now, Marrowscar is an old Ossiarch fortress. And when she goes back, she convinces, somehow, the Lord Regent to send an expeditionary force, which she will accompany, to investigate Marrowscar. The Banner Blade, that's the guy with the massive flag, is a dick and is having none of it, but has to go along because the Lord Regent says so anyway. Mm-hmm. When they get to Marrowscar, the Ossiarch are not there.
Oh.
And the Ether Sea rolls in.
Oh.
Now, here's where it gets really cool. This is why I really bought in. This is not just a random Idoneth soul raid. These Idoneth belong to one very particular enclave, which we have already had set up. Because in Shyish, there is an Idoneth enclave. It's called Morfan. And it has a sibling called Eigmar. Now, Eigmar was at the bottom of the ocean and got found because the Skaven found it.
Ooh.
And Nagash drained the entire ocean to wipe them out.
Oh.
So we're dealing with a force of Idoneth that has no Achelians, so no eels, no turtles, no sharks, no sea creatures whatsoever, and is living on its last couple of hundred Namati, who we know are doomed, and a handful of Isharan. One Tidecaster, one Soul Render, one Soul Scryer, and there's also an Achelian Thrallmaster who isn't really an Achelian because he fights on foot and is a dick. Now, the Lord Regent then dies, and the Lumineth are captured. Well, okay, a few of them are captured, including a squad of Sentinels, a squad of Wardens, and the Lore Seeker herself. Now, what the Idoneth want, obviously they need souls to keep themselves going, and Elven souls always be the best souls, because they're long-lived, rich in magic, etc. But their goal is they are trying to rebuild a Coryllium. Because the Coryllium of Eigmar, which is their soul store, obviously you can't take that with you when you're running away from the angry death god, so it's broken. And they're trying to use a font of magic in Marrowscar, which is what the vision drew in this lore seeker into Marrowscar, was this vision and this power, this magical well. They're trying to use it to make a Coryllium and rebuild. Now, off screen, the new Banner Blade becomes the new Lord Regent and an even bigger dick. But we're going to stick with the Lore Seeker for now. She barters her colleague's freedom with the Soul Scryer, or some level of freedom, in order that she can assist him with creating this Coryllium and the ritual that he's trying to do. Because she wants to investigate. She's had these visions and she wants to talk about how the hell am I going to shut this down or take control of it? Or at the very least study it, because it's a font of death magic. And they're working on it. And the Thrallmaster's like, you are going to ruin this. You kill the Lumineth. But the Soul Scryer is in charge because he's the only one that can get them from A to B to C to D. The Tidecaster makes the Ether Sea. The Soul Scryer tells them where to go. So the Soul Scryer is in de facto command.
Yeah.
Sometime later, they go for the ritual. You can guess how it ends because it's the children of Teclis.
Wonderfully well, and nothing goes wrong.
But what's really interesting is the dynamic, because the Law Seeker has one particular thing that she wants to do. She wants to save the Idoneth in the most Lumineth way possible. Come back to Teclis and let us help you. Remember, Teclis made the Idoneth, fucked it up, realized that they had darkened souls, tried to show them their true selves, and scared them so bad they went to the bottom of the ocean to drown their emotions for the next 2 eons.
Yeah, not gonna work.
And the Soul Scry is just like, we want nothing to do with Teclis. I barely want anything to do with you. Go away with that. Now, eventually...
So.
Sorry, go on.
Understandably so.
Yes. So, eventually, it all kind of goes a bit south. The ritual goes a little bit haywire. It's not bad. It's not like, suddenly unleash a tide of death that kills everything within 500 meters. It's nothing like that. But it's not quite under control, and it never will be, because that power, that death magic, is just ridiculous. And the Ossiarch are now on their way. The Lumineth managed to escape. The details of how escape me, they're either let go and told to run, or they break out, or whatever. And they make their way back to the Lumineth camp, where the Bannerblade, now Lord Regent, is very hawkish about, look who it is, the failure, who got the Lord Regent killed. What do you have to say for yourself? To which she goes, you need to go back. What? You need to go back. Why? Do you want to get us all killed now? No, there's a font of death magic, and the Ossiarch know about it, and the Idoneth know about it, and we need to secure it or shut it down. You might not like me. This might be a suicide mission, but you know I'm right. And they have a proper Lumineth theological, philosophical, ethical debate about it, and eventually the Law Seeker gets her way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at some point, I forget whether it's during the battle or before, exactly when, the Bannerblade will end up dead and the Law Seeker will end up Lord Regent by the time the battle kicks off. I cannot remember when the Bannerblade dies, and it's bothering me because it's been about 3 weeks since I read it. But the Bannerblade dies at some point, and I forget exactly how, whether it's a duel or a random magical assault, or the Ossiarch show up. I can't remember, but the Bannerblade dies, and the Law Seeker becomes Lord Regent. And they go to attack the Mariskar while the Ossiarch are still there, but the Namati and the Idoneth are sort of holding out. Failing, but holding, just in an attempt to try and secure the death magic. They do, in the end, but it really pulls on the heartstrings. Like, we could have helped you. No, you couldn't. You didn't want to help us. You just wanted to kill us, like Teclis always has, kind of thing. It's, if you're invested in the Elven lore and the story of the Idoneth and the Lumineth, it plays both races perfectly.
Oh,
the Idoneth are morbid, dark, they hate everyone, they just want to be left alone and not die. And the Lumineth have got a god complex of, we are the children of Teclis and we are here to save everybody. And if that means a few of you have to get in our way and get made to go out of our way, so be it. They don't understand. They do understand the damage they are doing, but it's all for the greater good. The greater good. Thank you.
Excellent.
It plays the two races really well. The Idoneth obviously all die. The Lumineth do get Mariskar in the end. And it's really, I forget the exact intricacies of the back end of the plot because I was reading it really quickly because I was really intrigued and I think I read it a bit too fast. But the way it plays the Lumineth and Idoneth and their interactions with one another is just gorgeous. Because ever since the Lumineth and Teclis came back on the scene, there have been people wondering, well, what do the Idoneth make of all this? Is Teclis going to make an effort to try and contact the Idoneth now he knows they're a thing again? So it's a really interesting dynamic to set up of what happens when the Lumineth and the Idoneth not only have to fight, but actually put themselves in a situation where they have to talk. And I really, really enjoyed it. The details of the plot are actually, they're really good from what I can remember of them, but they're not that important compared to the dynamics and relationships being set up between particularly the Lore Seeker and the Soul Scryer. These two playing off each other is just like brilliant. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. So if you like your elves or you want to see a bit of, well, not politics, but you really like your relationships and your complex god dramas in your AOS novels, give it a read. It's got great fight scenes, but the Lumineth politics and the Lumineth-Idoneth conversations make this book, and it's really, really good.
Oh, it does sound like a good raid.
Yeah, and I've somehow managed to avoid spoiling exactly what happens at the back end, aside from the Lumineth win the end, but they were the cover artists of the book. They were always going to win the end.
Yeah, true.
So yes, give that one a read. It's very good.
Fair enough.
That sounds so
Anyone
good.
else?
I've been reading essays because next week is that week when our autumn part of our A levels starts. So I've been grading essays, so yay.
Yay, indeed.
I'm currently reading through Fall of Cadia. I'm about halfway through, but I don't want to talk about it just yet, because... I won't spoil anything just yet. However, I have also read 2 novellas in the interim as well. Let me just flip a coin and see which one I should talk about.
The second one.
Yeah. And right, okay. So, I'm going to talk about The Colonel's Monograph, which is a Warhammer horror novella. I've been getting through a lot of these recently, and the Warhammer horror stuff's actually quite good. I'm not.
It is. It is. D for you, dearie.
Hey, Patreon supporters will know that joke. But anyway,
Indeed. Join the Discord, etc.
Yeah. Hashtag and all that. Right. I'm not going to go into any spoiler one because it's old by this point. I mean, when did it come out? Actually, it came out in 2019, yeah. I think spoiler periods are very well truly gone. Right. So we start off with this retired archivist named. It's been a couple of weeks since I read it, so I'm probably going to misremember some names, but I'm just going to call her Teresa because it sounds like Teresia or something, but I'll just call her Teresa for sake of argument. So Teresa's been contacted by a man named Garrett. What's his name? Lacotte. Garrett Lacotte. Whose mother was a highly respected and esteemed colonel in the Imperial Guard, who recently passed away. And he's contacted Teresa to basically say, hey, my mother had all these, weird, books and artifacts, and we need someone to, categorize them so we can actually sell them off. So, why are you going to sell them off? Well, she'd like to spend money on expensive shit, and she's racked up some debts, so I now need to pay that off. So, she gets picked up and driven to the Lacotte's estate, and the driver is a butler servitor who's basically described as being like Frankenstein's monster in appearance, huge, hulking motherfucker with like a bronze mask.
Lurch.
Yeah. I'll call him Lurch for the sake of argument as well. It'd be easier. As it turns out, Lurch used to be a soldier who served under the colonel, but he was mortally wounded, and he was basically turned into a servitor so he could continue serving the colonel. So basically became, the colonel's butler.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of undignified, I think, but hey. Garrett and Teresa are basically talking in the colonel's library, and Garrett mentions in regards to a particular book just called The Monograph, which is basically it's like a diary from his mother's diary, and it may contain information regarding an event called the Dawn of the Dark Sun, which was an event that caused a whole bunch of warp storms and all horrible chaosy related shit. Yes, spoiler, chaos is going to be involved somehow. I think it's actually going to be the very first Warhammer horror book that actually does involve chaos in some way. So, you know what? Fair play on restricting your hand on that regard. Outside of, Deacon of Wounds.
Yeah, I was just about to say, hey, I do remember something chaotic.
Yeah. But that's for another video. So one day, Teresa goes out for a walk, just to clear her head because it's been a long day sorting all the shit out, and she notices that across from the Colonel's mansion, like on another cliff edge, there was an Imperial church that had been burnt to the ground. And the story is that the church, basically, it was like it got struck by lightning and then it caught ablaze and just burnt down. So she goes to the church, and as she's like exploring the ruins of the church, this fog starts coming in. And she turns to look back at the Colonel's mansion, and she can see a woman in white standing on the balcony. She's like, who the fuck's that? She steps forward a bit just to get a bit of a closer look, and then someone shouts behind her, stop. She stops, turns around, and there's a priest. And the priest's like, don't move. She looks down, and she's like literally right on the edge of the fucking cliff. It's like, oh, fuck. Because as it turns out, the reason why the Colonel passed away is because her body was found at the bottom of that same cliff. So she thought, oh, was that white woman in white, was that what caused the Colonel to die? Did she see that same vision, that same spectre, that same ghost, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And she's pondering this, and she goes into the town. Like, gets herself a coffee, gets herself a donut, because, like, it's one of these weird Imperial worlds where it's like, hey, it's literally just fucking Cornwall in description.
Imperial Cornwall, goodness gracious.
The planet Cornwall, there we go. In fact, Cornwall's a very nice place to visit. But anyway, I digress. But eventually, when she goes back into the mansion to look through more of the stuff and catalogue more of these items, she eventually finds what she thought was the monograph. It's not. It's a diary from a man named Montague. And Montague was the person who had originally been hired by Lecotte to categorise and archive all these items. But he just up and left one day and never came back. And Teresa's like, it's a bit weird. Well, I'm going to keep this diary. I'm going to look through it. And she goes to have a shower. And when she comes out, she finds that on her bed, some clothes have been left, but it's the Colonel's clothes, like a uniform's been freshly pressed and ironed and all that. And a tray of food's been left, which is like, a rare steak and all that. Basically, all the Colonel's favourite stuff. And she's like, why am I being left this? Oh, it's because that was my mother's room. I'm staying in your dead mother's room. Yes. Isn't that a bit morbid? Well, now that you mention it, yeah, I suppose it can be. But the butler freaks out a little bit and effectively tries to choke her. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Kind of thing. And Garrett's like, oh, I see what's happened. He's had a bit of a programming glitch. Because, again, that was my mother's room. He thinks you're my mother, but my mother's dead, so he's trying to rectify that. So it's like, do you not think this is an issue? Nah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yep. Nothing's gone
wrong.
She
goes, nah, can't go wrong, can it? But later on, she ends up having a tour of, the mansion's gardens. Like, there's like a nice little hedge maze, and in the centre of the hedge maze, there is a statue made from coral. Nice and pretty, very airy, very pink. And she ends up going back and reading more of Montague's stuff, and she finds out he mentions something in regards to the Dawn of Dark Suns, and he found something in regards to it, but the page has been torn away.
Yeah, of course.
So she decides to go into town and ask people, hey, do you know of this Montague guy? It's like, oh yeah, he lived over the edge of town with his wife. Ah, thank you, I'll go over there. She goes over to Montague's house, knocks on the door. Hello, Montague. Wife answers from behind the door. Fuck off. It's like, can I talk to you? Fuck off. It's about the Dawn of Dark Suns. Click, door opens. What do you want? Can I speak to your husband? Come on in. Where is he? He's in that room there. Hi, Montague. Can you talk to me about this? And Montague's sitting in his chair and just turns at the sound of his name. And Teresa walks in and she sees that Montague's hands have been tied down to the chair. His eyes have been ripped out. His tongue had been cut out. And he's missing fingers of one hand, and the other hand is broken into basically a pulp. What the fuck happened here? Well, he was doing an archiving for the Lacottes, and he found some things that were not right. Like, he wrote something down, and then he started speaking these words that no one should speak, so he grabbed a bit of a broken glass and cut out his own tongue.
Ow.
Yeah. And then he felt compelled to write everything down, but he didn't want to write these words down because these are words that no one should speak or read. So he ended up like cutting the fingers of one hand and like punching a mirror with his other hand till it was like just a pulp. And then with the broken nubs of his fingers, he ended up like cutting his own eyes out with broken pieces of the mirror.
Ow.
And so he's been confined to that chair ever since, and his wife has to take care of him. It's like,
Fun.
well, I guess it's not very good, is it? It's like, yeah, no fucking shit, it's not very good. You daft bint. But anyway, she goes to leave, and Montague's wife says, right, listen, there was this piece of paper he brought back. I was tempted to throw it in the fire, but maybe you can find use for it. And lo and behold, it's the page from the diary that was torn out. Now, on that page, there's a whole bunch of numbers. And Teresa realizes, this looks like a combination for like a safe or something. So she goes back into the library with all the the archive room, all the items and all that, and she sees that some of the paintings have numbers. And she gets a closer look, and the frames have hidden buttons on them. So she goes and presses the buttons in the right order, and the floor starts parting, like, stone going, oh, hidden stairway. Goes down the hidden stairway, and there's a book on the table.
Oh, no.
And it's the Colonel's monograph. Roll credits. So, as it turns out, the Colonel had been leading, a regiment of, Imperial Guard troops on pacification of a bunch of worlds. She went to one hive world that had been corrupted by Slaanesh. I think you can see where this is going.
Ooh, yeah.
She reads through all these atrocities and all that the Guard had committed, basically afterwards, like, basically falling more and more to debauchery, like, like cannibalism, hedonism, like orgies, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Inquisition were very, very close to finding them. And the Colonel basically went, right, let's conduct a chaos ritual. Oh, chaos ritual, warp storm. It's the dawn of dark suns. Hey.
Yay.
Now we can get back home and no one knows that we're corrupted by chaos. Hooray.
How very handy.
How very handy. Oh, but I did forget to mention in regards to the Colonel's death. Before she went to Montague's house, she asked around town, how did the Colonel die? She fell off the cliff, didn't she? Yeah, but there was something a bit weird about how she died. What do you mean? Well, her skull had basically been, cracked open. Oh, could have been from when she fell down the cliff. Yeah, it could have been, but the boatman who found her, he's ex-guard, and he said it looked exactly like, a gunshot wound to the back of the head.
Oh, dear.
So basically, someone knew about her corruption and shot her. Essentially.
Way to go.
Way to go. So as she's reading through the monograph, she hears footsteps from above, and slowly coming down the stairs. Oh shit, it's Lurch.
Oh, dear.
And Lurch is just approaching her and basically like, oh shit, he's come to kill me. Fuck. So she runs off. She runs back to the room she'd been staying in. Oh wait, this was the Colonel's room. Her power saber. Yes, I'll take that. I can use that. And there's a las gun hanging on this trophy rack here. I'll take that. Yes, I'll try and ambush it. Yes. Here comes Lurch. Right, I'm going to shoot you with this las gun. Click. Fuck. Doesn't work.
Ooh,
Drops it. Runs. No. Here's the best part. Lurch picks up the las gun, switches off the safety, and then starts following. And is like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Oops.
She runs down the hallways, runs into her room. It's like, okay, I can hear him coming. I'm gonna cut him in half with this power saber. Yeah, phoom. Oh shit, it's Garrett. Fuck, I just killed the wrong guy.
Oh,
Whoops.
dear.
And Lurch is still coming, and now he's got a gun. He's like, right, I'll run out into the hedge maze. A servitor's not gonna have, a good way of navigating that. Oh, and lo and behold, it's fucking raining as well. Of course it is. It wouldn't be a fucking horror movie if it wasn't, would it?
Indeed.
So she's running through the maze, running through the hedge maze, and she gets to the centre. Remember that coral statue I told you about earlier?
Vaguely, yes.
Nice and pink.
Yep. It's flesh.
Of course it fucking is.
It's a cocoon. And the kernels emerges from it.
Oh, God.
It's like, yeah. And the thing is, it's not raining anymore. She's not in the hedge maze. She's on a fucking beach. In a tropical beach at sunset. Like, where the fuck am I? And the colonel's there is like, hi, give yourself over to Slush and you can have your youth. You can have your beauty. You can have a family. Because I know you and your husband never had children, but now we can give you children. Oh, and they're both naked and it starts getting very Ian Watson-y. I'll leave it at that.
Very good.
I won't go into the details, but there is a kiss involved. Teresa snaps out of it and bites off the colonel's tongue. The colonel's like screaming out, hissing out. And out from the tongue, it's not just blood, but also like worms and shit like that. And she she's smacking the colonel tries to kill Teresa, but Teresa like smashes her face in with the butt of the power saber she still has on her. Bang! Goes down, falls down, and the colonel looks up. Teresa turns around and lurches there with the gun now, and he's pointing the gun. And as he does so, he reaches up with one hand and pulls the brass mask off his face, pulling out all these like feeder tubes and all that. And he just goes like, yeah. It's like, what? He says it again, but this time Teresa understands what he says. Get down. She drops down and Lurch shoots the colonel, like pretty much at point blank range, emptying the entire power cell of the las gun.
Nicely done, Lurch.
As it turns out, Lurch wasn't a servitor. He had basically been cybernetically altered and was psychically controlled by the colonel and her family.
Ooh.
Because he was someone who had spoken out against her corruption. So he was punished by being turned into a slave.
Whoopsie daisy.
Yes. And in the end, they decide, right, we're going to burn everything to the ground. But we might be tainted because Teresa feels something moving in her belly. He's like, oh shit, one of those worms got in my womb or something.
Yeah.
Fuck it. We're gonna have to burn ourselves as well. And the Inquisition finds a copy of a diary, which was miraculously the only thing that survived the burning of the mansion. The end. So there you go.
Now I want to read 2 frigging stories.
Well, bloody hell, that went sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should point out this was only like a novella as well, so.
A lot happened.
Oh shit, I think it's actually been removed from Black Library.
No!
Oh.
I think.
I blame Ian Watson.
Because I clicked the link, and the link itself said like, oh, file not found. Don't tell me it's actually been removed.
Removed by the Inquisition.
Wow. Don't see that very often.
Because it was part of the novella series that did a while again. Yeah, it's been removed from Black Library. Oh fuck!
Jesus.
Yeah, because that was the link from it on Google, but if you follow it, it's just like file not found. Holy shit! That is rare.
That is
Extremely.
Holy shit!
I'm just like I'm just speechless, trying to think of reasons for why. Why on earth?
Yeah, it's not on there.
Perhaps this was Remleiz original then.
Bloody hell.
Written by some, inquisitor somewhere. I don't know.
Actually, I wonder if any of the other novellas from that series are on there still. Like Lords of the Storm. Lords of the Storm's still on there. Like, that novella's still on there.
I think it's the Slaneshi Kiss.
Oh, wait, I found it. It's not under Warhammer Horror anymore, it's under all products now. For fuck's sake.
Why isn't it under horror? I mean, that is clearly a horror story.
No idea. It's not under Warhammer Horror. It's weird. But yeah, I mean, if you want an ebook version of it, you're going to be jumping from holes trying to find the right fucking link. But it's only $4.99 on Black Library.
Oh, well then.
It's not bad,
It's
in
not.
fairness.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't Lacotte, it was Greylock, sorry. My mistake, I misremembered. It was Lacotte Greylock, I remembered his name as Garrett for some reason.
That's fine.
I was thinking of Garrett from the XTTS server, like, yep, that's what we're doing now.
I mean, it could be worse, it could be Garrett Bischoff. The referee with a face turn no one fucking asked for. Anyway. Right. Have we got any questions, perchance?
Not many, in all truth. It's a quiet one on that front.
Fair enough.
But there are a couple, so let's hit them, shall we? So, where's it gone? That's about Baldur's Gate, which I don't think it was played.
Don't have time for it, unfortunately.
No.
I played it myself.
I appreciate this was written around the time of the Space Marine 2 trailer. There's one saying, what sort of weapons, gear and artifacts are you looking forward to or hoping to see in Space Marine 2? The commenter suggests Pyre Blasters. I mean, a flamer weapon would be really good. Agreed.
Grav cannon. Because the grav cannon bolt gun's fun.
Yeah, grav weapons would be hard to model, I suspect, but
Yeah.
hilarious.
If bolt gun can do it.
Yeah, but bolt gun doesn't have to worry about its graphical fidelity to do it.
Also
It's not the
true.
physics, it's the graphicals. Like, how do you represent gravity warping in such a way without just making a black hole gun?
Big green beam, that's how bolt gun does it.
True.
But honestly, yeah, graviton weapons would be good. Rem, darling, you sure you're right?
Yeah, Petrie, yeah.
Okay.
Keep going.
Right, this question is posed for me, but I think it's fair that we'll just throw it out to the room. As we know, a lot of Space Marines have turned to Chaos throughout time. However, as far as we know, none have ever joined the Tau. Even if we exclude the corruption angle for Chaos becoming Space Marines, why is it, or how come some Space Marine chapters, especially those betrayed or declared heretical through no fault of their own, or due to Inquisitors having decaf rather than normal coffee that day, are more willing to go down the Chaos route and go all that way, rather than, for example, defect to the Tau, which is relatively safe, far more technologically advanced? I could give you a short answer. That. Xenophobia.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like a TTS show. It's like the one thing that unites both Chaos and the Imperium, xenophobia.
But
It's not being at the
True,
end.
wasn't it the Christmas episode, or what was it?
It was the Christmas episode, yeah.
But what is interesting, and this is something that is worth raising, is when Space Marines are betrayed or ditched by the Imperium, and through no fault of their own, I'm thinking particularly, what's their name? The one that fell foul for relic hunting too much? The Relictors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not Chaos Space Marines, they're renegades at best, but why is it then when so many chapters are like betrayed or just ditched by the Imperium, they immediately go to the antithesis of what they were rather than strike out on their own? I know some strike out on their own, but it seems to be an inexorable slide to chaos.
In fairness, they don't always start that way. It just seems to be like they've a fall from grace. Like, right, we're going to be loyal to the Imperium, but we're just going to do it our own way. Now we're going to be renegades. Now we're going to be pirates. Oh, now we're now sacrificing babies, kind of thing.
Slippery
It's like
slope.
a decline. It's a slippery slope. It's rare that a fallen Space Marine will choose actively chaos. Like, some of them will, don't get me wrong, but in a lot of cases, it's renegades just steadily falling on a decline.
Yeah, the
And
Crimson
they
Slaughter being a
Yeah.
great example, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I was just about to say that as well. Like, this kind of idea, like, well, if we're not good enough for you, we're going to do it in our own way, and we're going to prove to you that we're going to be good enough for this just by doing it like we want to do it, and then it just, escalates into being chaotic, and nobody ever thinks of, like, well, we're going to go play with the other kids. They might be blue, but we're going to play with the other kids.
And then you get someone like Huron Blackheart saying, I'm going to make my own Imperium with blackjack and hookers.
But not with the blue
This is
kids.
true. But no, it is interesting, like, even during the Damocles Crusade and all of that, there is not one instance of, obviously, I know a lot of humans defected to the Tau, but not one Marine does. And like, I understand Space Marines are hardwired very differently to humans. I get that. I get that the traditional Tau offer that would convince humans to go their way will not work on Space Marines because they don't care about the same things that normal humans care about. Sorry, one moment, spider. Bang, dead. So,
Well done.
But what could the Tau say that would convince the Marines to defect? Because they know the Imperium's a mess. They know it's twisted and corrupted. They just don't care most of the time. So I don't know what the Tau could actually do that would ever pull a Space Marine.
I was going to make a joke like, hey, want to invade the Angels of Absolution home world so we can hunt for the Fallen?
Yeah.
Hey, remember War of Secrets when the Dark Angels and the Tau team?
Oh, that was in Space Marine Conquest, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Forgot that. Go back.
I mean, cooperation is a different thing from, kind of falling to the arms of the Xenas.
In fairness, as far as Dark Angels are concerned, that's as close as you're going to get because they are notoriously xenophobic, even by the standards of Space Marines.
Yeah, true.
I think it's literally only like the Red Scorpions who are even more xenophobic than they are. Because the Red Scorpions hate everyone. They even hate the Guard. Was it the Guard? God, no.
Goodness gracious, human beings. Disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, the Dark Angels don't even like abhumans. Neither do the Black Templars, for that matter. Funny enough, there was actually one great scene in the Beast of Rises series where some humans and some abhumans are basically being captured by the Orcs and basically forced to work on this thing by the Orcs. And the Black Templars turn up. Based on humans, you're free to go. Voidborn, bang, 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 fuck you all.
Yeah, you're too lanky.
And the other Imperial Fist successor chapters was like, dude, what the fuck? It was like, they were abhumans. Yeah, we were still going to save them. Were we? Yes. Oh, never mind.
Oops, my bad.
Mistakes were made, but hey, the rest of them are okay to go.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Not massively, to be completely honest.
Did you have any questions from the, time when, Remleiz was, without the internet?
Yeah, there was an ungodly rant about Warhammer Plus that put mine and Fresh's conversation about Warhammer Plus to shame about how angry it was, but I'm not going to read it. No, wait, that's the Fresh episode again, Neve. You need to scroll to the correct episode, you moron. There it is. So, let's have a quick check. That's all about Tau. We talked about that one, mentioned that one.
It's so fresh and so clean.
Hey.
Talked about that one. Okay, here's one. Since 40k apparently was started out as a satire and apparently retains much of that satire, I don't think it does, but okay. Do the Podcastus people have any silly or funny headcanons?
Is this going to be a reference back to the Imperial Fist eating poo again?
It's asking, it's a headcanon. It's asking, what are your headcanons?
Load-bearing walls are heretical?
That's not headcanon, that's canon.
Oh, right. Other walls can also be heretical.
in fairness, you could say the Imperial Fist eating poo is a headcanon because there was a Space Marine and that was declared non-canon by Black Library, so...
True.
So yeah, fuck it, I'll go with that.
Yeah,
Eat the poop marbles.
I mean, I'm very glad you didn't say, I ship Gilliman and Yvraine. I'm very glad you didn't say that.
Of course.
Because Scaffold said that was canon anyway.
It's Caldor Drago and Yvraine. I mean, wait, what? Or Caldor Drago and Malice, don't know.
But for me, I think one of the headcanons I keep in my head, because of the fact I do Farsight chapters, also, I have a Farsight and I painted it!
Woo!
So I'll show that to you later.
Please do.
But I know this sort of setup with Shadowsun and Farsight is always like, oh, they're sort of frenemies and like they've got a lot of respect for one another. That's why Farsight let Shadowsun go and all of this. I personally kind of hold to the idea that Shadowsun would quite happily take Farsight back if the Ethereals weren't around. Now, I don't think that's particularly stretching the headcanon. So if we're going to push it a little bit, I would say that thinking about those two, it's just like they're so clearly being shipped, but they're not allowed to be shipped, and Shadowsun's being all tsundere about it. But
Baka.
The best ships are tsundere ships. Wait, what?
Wait, what? But I don't know. I just feel
Just wait until Phil Kelly turns around and says, "Oh, by the way, the ship's actually going to be Farsight and Kais."
No.
Just go.
You see, my personal headcanon is, well, it's not a headcanon, it's sort of a prediction. I don't think they will ever do the Farsight Taurus heresy. I think that there will be a sea change in the Tau Empire one day, and I hold that it will be a peaceful revolution, that the Ethereals will be found out and overthrown from within, possibly by Shas herself when she realises what's been going on. That one day they'll have a meeting, Shadowsun will be like, she'll beat Farsight in a fight through bullshit because she ain't beating him in a fight, she'll ambush him or something and blow his jetpacks away so that he can't move. And then just be stood over him, and Farsight will just holo project everything from Arthas Moloch and all the things that the Shasta who defected after Hollow Anvar turned up, and all those little things, and just sort of Shadowsun, Shas, trust me, I know you trust me, the Ethereals are bullshit. They are lying to you. You know this. You've seen that plague planet. You've seen what Faith can do on that plague planet. The Ethereals are liars. Please.
I was going to say, Shadowsun will beat Farsight because she has the power of God and anime on her side.
No, she has the power of plot armor.
It was a call back to her novel where she spoke to Talvar.
I know, she does have the power of God. No anime, but definitely God.
Yeah.
Well, the Tau are anime, so she has the power of God and anime on her side.
Yeah, but like, just
there
like,
you go.
or maybe I just want there to be a way where Shas and Sho can reunite and not, I'm not shipping it. I'm more being like, get them back on the same page, on the same side, and actually bring the Empire into a new place, an ethereal-free Tau Empire, or where the Ethereals are a priesthood rather than the supreme dictator rulers of everything, because they were proved to be liars. The objective, liars.
So basically the same as politicians and every other species, then. Hey.
Pretty much.
Indeed. Also, a personal headcanon that I would love to have, like, if it was possible. I would like my namesake character, Interrogator Naerina, to have somewhere an Achillean Leviathan.
Turtle friend.
Turtle friend.
Nice.
So Shelley.
Yes, so shall we. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we shall call that for this episode. So, thank you very much to everyone who joined in to listen. We hope you enjoyed it. And thank you very much for Naerina for joining us this episode. For Naerina, to Naerina, rather, I should say. I can't fucking talk.
Neither can I.
For Naerina is two Naerinas. So.
To Naerinas, yes.
That's all right. I'm always a pleasure. It was a hoot.
So, until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been Neve from Tactica Imperialis.
And this has been Naerina, also from 40k Theories.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.